Chums, we're here in the very heart of London's Piccadilly, and it's a place, of course, that everybody knows. But of course, this place truly is steeped in royal history. Not just the Regency Street of Regent Street, designed by Sir Christopher Wren, but all the other things that went on after hours. That was the beauty, wasn't it, when you first came to London? Or you saw those wonderful black and white B films of what happened in London after dark. Just over here, in fact, was the very first sort of thing I remember seeing on a B film starring none other than Dame Joan Collins. Oh yes. And she was emerging as a bit of a naughty girl after being in prison and coming out of here in the tube station. Incredible, isn't it, when you think it's all gone on here? But literally way back in 1951, a very special thing took place. And it was a man that had a very special place inside the British monarchy, because it was his music that, in fact, the very young Princess Elizabeth first danced to in public. And on another note, this just goes to show exactly how ridiculous, and I hate to throw this in at this point, ridiculous those racist claims were made about the British monarchy by those two. But let's get back, of course, to your royal story of the day. Morning, chums. Lovely to see you today. Thank you so much as ever for taking the time out to join me. And sorry about that bit of a frog in the throat. It is heavy pollen here today. It's also raining very badly, as you can see from my barnet. Hair, that is, yes. Terribly bad, actually. You can't help it, I've told you. Wherever you're turning at the moment, it just seems to be bad weather. So if you are in London, I hope you're getting better weather than what I've had recently over the last few days, trying to film certain events here. Of course for you, and of course for some of the TV programmes around the world. It's incredible. He said, why is it so bad weather? I don't know. Does anybody know? But nonetheless, it is nice to have your company. And as always, welcome one and all brand new subscribers. Now, yes, in 1951, a very special event took place in Regent Street at the old Coconut Grove Club. Because this man, that's right, Edmundo Ros, well, he opened a club, his own club. Now, why would you think that was particularly special? Well, it's what happened in the intervening years that made this club not only the attraction of all the movie stars of the day, and of course the likes of royals and foreign royals too, everybody from Prince Rainier to the likes of even Errol Flynn, no surprise there. They all flocked to the club for this wonderful man's music, Latino calypso. He just knew exactly how to make music to make people dance. Now, the Coconut Grove had been very popular, but Edmundo Ros decided that he wanted to do something very different. He was very good looking, very debonair, and had a lot of panache and style. Not only that, he'd had a very successful recording career, and also with the BBC too. So you can understand exactly why at this point in his life, he decided he wanted to do something a little bit different. Edmundo Ros was, well, incredibly popular. As I say, already big success at the Bagatelle restaurant. And it was there that Princess Elizabeth, as she was, took to the floor to his music. As I say, the very first public dance. And what was even more shocking to some during the time was the fact that he came off the bandstand to show her exactly how to sashay her hips. She enjoyed it, and there were pictures, and it was reported in the media. It's funny to think, isn't it, that, because we always see the Queen in later life as being a little bit more staid and, a little bit cautious. But clearly, when she was young, she truly knew how to enjoy herself. By 1951, he'd already enjoyed success on BBC Radio, so decided to open the Edmundo Ros Dinner and Supper Club. And this really was the hot place to be. It was at 100 Regent Street, as I say, taking over from the Coconut Grove. And what was fascinating about this, when you think, was instantly it became very successful, not just because of his wonderful music and the sort of decor that was very Hollywood glamour. He did pull in all the big names, including the likes of Ava Gardner, Frank Sinatra, Mickey Rooney, you name it. Whoever was in town at the Palladium at least went one night. And as I said, it really took off. But there was this one particular instance that put the club on the map. Now, this wasn't a visit of the Duke of Edinburgh, or indeed Princess Margaret, who was also a frequent visitor, but that would come as no surprise, right? This was a lady who knew how to party with all the right people, with all the right clubs. But no, the very esteemed actor, Sir Cedric Hardwicke, well, he was married to a woman, shall we say, who was rather different, to say the least. He was one of the very first people to be billed on screen as Sir Cedric Hardwicke, a big thing in the day and really helped sell the movie. But his wife decided to turn up at the club literally shock horror, wearing pants. Oh yes. Now, Edmundo was very sort of particular about who he let in, and it didn't matter the fact that she was, of course, the wife of a sir. He wasn't bothered about that. He said, no, you're not coming in. That particular story got leaked to the media, and this instantly put the club on the map. So much so, the BBC came back knocking and offered him more regular spots. But it didn't go away, and he wouldn't relent either. If you'd been, for instance, to a Buckingham Palace garden party, all the ladies were, told to take off their wide-brimmed hats. He didn't want anything to obstruct the view of the stage, the dancers, or indeed the joyous music. But it's interesting to note that while he was very popular with the royals, even invited to perform with his orchestra at Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle on a regular basis, it wasn't until the noughties, when he was almost reaching 100, that he finally got the OBE. And apparently, according to him, well, Her Majesty the Queen kept saying, I wondered when this would happen. Every time she looked down the list and couldn't understand why nobody'd nominated him. Edmundo Ros lasted until 100, and as he said, you never truly retire as a musician. You simply look back and wonder whether you could arrange things better. His store, his club today, should I say, is now the Michael Kors store. I popped in there earlier on and I said, does anybody know what it's like downstairs? And this guy said, you know what, it's massive. You could almost have a nightclub down there. And I pointed out that there was a nightclub. And all the young kids looked at me and said, oh really? Nobody asked any questions. It's funny, isn't it, how history simply moves on. And below that department store now, 100 Regent Street, royalty, Hollywood stars, and of course, infamous people have danced the night away. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.